So now I'm getting notes in my game.
Yeah, all right. So I would prefer to control the center of the board with pawns at the beginning, because in the middle of the board, your pieces can control more squares. They can do more stuff. There's two basic ideas in chess. Material and position or location. So how many pieces you have, right, and where they are, what they can do, right? And so since the board is not all that big, the number of squares that a piece can reach is what determines its power, its usefulness to you. All right, this is why a queen is worth more than a bishop or something like that, right? Because it goes to more squares. A piece that's in the middle part of the board can go to more squares than a piece that's sitting over on the edge. So it's very important at the beginning to try to put your pieces in the middle part of the board and to get them all out. Right, so that you can achieve maximum mobility. It's all about mobility at the beginning of the game. So
about a third of the way into the game, I realized I had sort of hedged myself in with my pawns. They became a fence, and I was trapped behind them, and they were very irritating.
Yes, that's
right.
And
I wanted them gone, but you wouldn't take them, and I had nothing to do with them.
Well, and this is why I think starting with a move like this, while not a losing move or anything, I mean, it's an okay move, but I would prefer to play a move like this or a move like this with the idea that if you can get them both side by side in the middle, then you're controlling lots of squares and it's easy to get your pieces out there. So I would like to start with one of those first two moves. So I mean, this isn't a losing move, but you know, I did that.
And now you've got opens.
Now I at least open up one of my pieces. Okay, so you played your queen out with a check, which isn't it's not a losing move. It's okay. I mean,
but she's over on the sideline.
Oh well, you know, but at least it's off the back row. It's not all bad here. The only problem is
I didn't know if I'd ever get another chance to check you, so I wanted to get it in while I had a chance.
Okay, well, it has no significance of itself. I could make you move your queen again if I blocked with the bishop, but I decided I'm just going to put my knight on a good square and just, you know.
And so now you're moving yourself into
let things happen. Okay, all right, so this is where you moved your pawn up here like this. All right, now that's a pretty good idea. You're going to get your other bishop out. You are, of course, entombing your dark squared bishop.
I noticed
your pawns on dark
and he was
squares.
trapped for the rest of the game.
Yeah, you had a problem getting that piece out for a real long time.
That's the fence I was
Okay, so, right.
I can't believe that you remember every move I've made. I have no idea except for maybe the last. I don't even remember the last moves I made. See, that was the problem. I wasn't seeing, except for every once in a while, and it's got a glimmer. Anyway, go ahead.
You know, if you do it often enough, you do. You remember.
You remember because you're reading the poetry.
I remember it, you know, next year, but I remember it now. Right. All right, so I played pawn to e5. I'm putting my pawns in the center, just like I said, right, following my own advice.
Sure.
All right, so you played your bishop out, developing move, right? That seems like a good move. And you're threatening to take here, right? You have two attackers. I only have one defender, so I have to do something about that.
Sure.
So I guarded with my bishop, right? So that's useful to me. It's not a real aggressive move, but it's helpful and it guards against the threat. Because you want your pieces toward the middle of the board, moving pieces onto the edge is not optimal. So playing this move doesn't really improve your knight.
Yeah, no, it doesn't.
It's still on the edge.
I just wanted him out, and I'd already hedged in with the fence.
From that point of view, I understand it, but the problem is that it's still on the edge of the board. It's not any closer to the center than it was, so it didn't improve your knight very much.
True.
If you can, you want to try to play improving moves.
I see.
Right? Okay, so let's see. I believe that I played here, you played this, and I played here. And my idea here now was to break this lineup that you have, right? I'm going to make you retreat. Okay, this is a hurtful move for all three of these pieces over here, the bishop, the knight, and the queen, because all three of them were using this square. You could attack the square b5, and now none of them can safely go there. So I'm just creeping up on the edges here. I'm taking just a little bit of space. It's a small improving move for me, but it gains a move also because now you have to respond. right? So the tempo, the single move, we call it a tempo, right? The tempo that I use for this, you have to use in a retreating, or you could capture, but if you capture and then I take, now you got to move your queen again anyway.
Right.
So you're going to lose a move back to me after I spent the move on this. It also, of course, gives you a chance to put your bishop on a bad square.
Sure.
I think you should go here, hold on to your piece, or you should take. Putting the bishop here, on the other hand, allows a double attack move. Okay, double attack is one of our basic chess tactics. You play one move and you make two threats. And so any piece can theoretically do this. Right? This is it's often called a fork, right? But double attack is really the name of it.
Sure.
And so this is a pawn fork or a pawn double attack on two of your pieces. You're going to lose one of them, and so you did the best you could. You got both my pawns for your bishop, right? That was a good choice under the circumstances. So you took, I took, you played queen takes pawn, and because I am now ahead, okay, basically you can think of your material as being worth a certain number of points for trading purposes, right? And so pawns are worth 1, bishops and knights are worth 3, rooks are 5, queen is 9, king is game. Right. So here, since I'm ahead, 3 points to 2, I'm perfectly okay with the idea to start exchanging pieces. So I offered to exchange queens, right? Because I mean, that's your most powerful piece. And so if we trade off the pieces, which you did, now that just magnifies my advantage in material. The more pieces that leave the board, the better off I am.
Sure.
And from this point, basically, it turns into just a kind of a war of attrition, where I am just trying to just kind of grind you down.
And you did.
Because I'm ahead in pieces, right? You did a good thing here. You brought your knight up to this square, right? Okay, so I castled. Now notice that I am now fully mobilized. Okay, and you still have a bunch of pieces on the back row.
I was stuck. That's the point when I realized I was stuck.
Yeah.
And I was happy to see you castle in that. That's a fun move, but also, you know, it meant that I was at least moving better than I was before.
No, you're doing reasonably well. You played an improving move for your knight. That's a good move, right? And because my bishop is very active here, you could even consider taking the bishop, which I expected you to do. What I thought you would play here is knight takes bishop, pawn takes, and then play your pawn up here like this. And the good thing about your position, even though you're behind a piece, is that you have lots of pawns in the middle of the board. You got rid of my pawns in the middle of the board. And so you can now actually be in a position to control a lot of these squares. I can't really stop you next turn from playing your pawn up like this, and you've actually got something going here.
Sure.
Okay? So you're not nearly as bad off as you thought you were. Okay? What really sank you was actually not what had happened up to this point. You're worse, but it's not impossible here. Okay, but after I played this, you played your knight up here, and it's just not guarded enough times. Right? So I took, you took, and I took, and now I'm up 2 pieces for 2 pawns.
And I've just down to
and from this point, it's not very difficult for me to crash through just because I have so many extra pieces.
I've got almost nothing left but pawns.
Right, and none of it's off the back row anymore.
Right, and it's all frozen.
Yeah. So this is really.
Yeah, I knew it was.
From this point, it's not hard to see that you're in trouble, right? And interestingly, where you're in trouble is on the light squares, because I have a light squared bishop, and you have all these pawns on dark squares. And so, I don't know if you noticed, but where I broke through against your position was against your light squares, particularly down here. So I started thinking about how to attack on the light squares. And this is now the strongest piece on the board, even though it doesn't look like it at the moment, because there's no opponent.
Right.
There's nothing to stand in the way of this piece. So that's where it happened.
Well,
and
excellent.
when you played this and started putting more pawns on dark squares, I'm just going, yeah, man, that's the way to go. All right, I like that. Right, so because it hurts your bishop even more.
Sure.
Right, and so it just makes it hard for you to get your guys out.
Well, it was very interesting. I very much felt blind most of the time. Every once in a while, it was like I could see a glimmer of something. But
no, a lot of what you did was okay.
Yeah.
A lot of what you did was just fine. I think if you pay a little more attention to getting your pieces off the back row a little quicker, and toward the center a little more, you'll have something going.
Yeah, I had no idea what I was doing. listening to this, I feel like with a few lessons, I might actually be able to play a decent game of chess.
I have no doubt.
But that was
I have no doubt. No, you shouldn't think that everything you did was wrong, because it wasn't. Right? You did a lot of things well.
It was blind, right? But it was interesting.
Okay, you're very honest, but no, I'm sure that if you're interested and you wanted to spend an hour or two with me, I could raise your game a ton.
Wow. I may have to come back to chess club sometimes and see if I can improve a little bit here.
I'm here every Thursday to tell you what I know. I can't take it to the grave with me, man. So it can be yours.
Oh yay! There you go. Well, thank you very much. Really appreciate
pleasure.
it. Thank you for the wonderful game and the explanation, the lesson, and also the interview.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
See you next time.